Good evening, my friends. Thank you for joining me tonight on our emotional cafe session, Freedom from Chaos. My name is Xiomara Mayo Ingram, and like every Thursday, I'm here to talk to you about and share with you some issues and topics that usually affect us all in one way or another. And I want you to be able to participate with me. I want to remind you that this is a live session and that you can ask your questions by chat. You can use the chat, it's totally anonymous, and that way I can answer your question on real time while we're doing the presentation. I also want to remind you to invite your friends and family members to join us, and if they can make it for the live session, they can always go back to the presentations on videos that we have on our webpage. Remember that Emotional Cafe is your virtual platform. It's for you. It's for all of us to continue growing together, to continue on our emotional growth process, and especially to support each other. So go to our webpage, make it yours. Enjoy the feature articles, subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't, and send us your question. You've been seeing on Facebook that we have been promoting Ask the Coach. Your questions sometimes share the thoughts or the feelings of someone that, as much as you have been struggling with a particular subject or particular issue. So when you ask your question, you are not only allowing me to help you, but also to help others along the way. So thank you for supporting us. Follow us on the social media, and let's start talking tonight about freedom from chaos. I know that when I hear the word chaos, at least to me, what the picture that comes to my mind is like a huge mess, like disorder, like totally disarray and disorganization, and some sort of confusion, pandemonium and turmoil and commotion. That's the kind of pictures that we get when we talk about chaos. And tonight we're going to be talking about emotional chaos, which is pretty much how it reflects externally how we're feeling inside, how overwhelmed our mind is, how our emotions overwhelm us, and we simply create all these different behaviors and attitudes and different things out there in order to avoid coping with ourselves. So emotional chaos appears automatically without even realizing it, unless we are fully aware that we are creating chaos in our life. And we're going to be able to talk about a little bit what are the reasons behind creating chaos in our life. But what's really behind a chaotic life? Number one, it's not assuming responsibility. That's part of what's behind the chaos. To put the blame on something or someone else instead of ourselves. And it goes along with taking responsibility if you think about it. But it's not only not assuming our responsibility, but also trying to find someone or something responsible for whatever is happening with us. And number three, to demand and to get attention. You know how sometimes we listen to people talking about how when we're kids, when we're children, we get to demand attention. We can do it either in a positive way or in a negative way. And it's the same thing with us as adults. Some adults demand attention in a negative way and create chaos in their life as a way to get that attention. Let's identify some expressions, some demonstrations of chaos in our lives. And tonight I'm going to be sharing with you about 4 specific expressions, some specific demonstrations of chaos. It's going to be drama, disorganization, the need to control situations or people, and reactivity. Those are the 4 ones that I am going to share about. And I hope that you can identify, if you can relate to some of the things that I'm sharing here with you, that you get to identify this, because at the end, like we usually do, I am going to share some recommendations on how to minimize or eliminate chaos from your life. Sorry. So let's start with the first expression of chaos, the first demonstration of chaos in our life, which is drama. And when we're talking about someone dramatic in real life, We're talking about how sometimes we, as human beings, we go along living our lives thinking that we are the main character of some sort of movie or soap opera. It's all in our imagination. But I don't know about you. I remember when I was growing up, I could pretty much hear the background music. Whatever I was going through, or if I was having like a tense conversation with someone, I was very dramatic, so I could pretty much hear the background music in my mind. It was as if I was always part of a soap opera or a movie, and it's the same thing. Some people, they live their lives experiencing that fantasy that they are living a movie. They are the main character of a movie, or maybe I'm sorry, this is a live session, my friends, so you're gonna have to excuse me. Let me have some of my cold tea today. Thank you. So anyway, it's a distortion that we create in our lives, and as a result, we have a very inappropriate way to express our emotions. And sometimes when we do, it's not in a clear way, and it creates more misunderstanding and it creates more drama. I remember that when I was a little girl, my father used to have an expression that said, drama brings more drama. Misery brings more misery. Depression brings more depression. And so it goes. When we nurture that kind of emotion, those toxic emotions continue growing bigger and bigger like a snowball. So it's the same thing with drama. We overreact, we have this attitude of being over dramatic about everything, and we simply see the drama going on and on and on, and it seems like we're going from one thing to the next. I have been working with specific individuals, and I can tell you this for experience. It's just amazing how you see them creating chaos and more drama and more drama and more drama. And when you're trying to content what's going on here, they're already creating something else. And it's a pattern, it's a behavior, and they get so used to it that they even feel comfortable with that drama in their lives. And the hardest part when we're assisting individuals like that is to actually break that pattern, is for them to feel happy and satisfied with a life free from drama, with a drama-less life. They don't find the purpose. They don't feel that high, that constant high they're always looking for in whatever they're creating, either if it's a situation with a friend or maybe with their spouse or maybe at work. But they need this fuel, they need this thing going on that boosts their high, and they simply don't enjoy normal life. So that's pretty much what drama as a expression of chaos looks like in your life. So what are the most common scenarios for drama to develop in our lives? Well, it can happen within our families, and that's probably one of the major signs. If when you were growing up, you were part of a family that was always fighting, and there was all this drama and anticipation about everything, and they're creating all this intrigue in everything that happens to them, you will be 100% a person that will be reproducing drama in your life as a result from coming from that kind of family. So this is something that, again, we as adults need to become fully aware in order to break it, because we will end up creating drama in our new families, the families that we make with someone else, and then it gets to the point that we always need something to be happening. And trust me when I said it's always something negative. It's not the good drama kind of thing, okay? It's the bad drama that goes to poor me and look what it's happening and this is always happening to me kind of thing that I'm talking about. So within our families is one of the most common scenarios in which we can develop and see and nurture drama. So we need to be very careful with that. Also, another one that is probably one of the highest rates of drama, it's relationships. Love relationships are amazing scenarios for drama. And again, when you are someone that have learned to express yourself inappropriately or overreact about everything, when you are in a relationship, that's part of what you're going to do, and you're not going to be able to have a healthy relationship and get along with someone else. You will always have this misunderstanding and confusions and lack of effective communication between the two of you unless you decide to stop with the drama. Another scenario can be at work. Sometimes we go to work, and this is funny because I remember that for a long time I used to work at a place that it was full of drama, and there were people there that will be anticipating every day, and they will be always their good morning statement will be something like, did you hear what happened? Or they will go like, have you heard something new? It was always like this kind of intrigue and what's going on. So work can be one of those fields that you can nurture drama unless you decide not to be involved and you start setting boundaries and trying not to be part of the mess, and instead keeping yourself aside so you can clear your mind and keep a very objective perspective, because if not, you just get overwhelmed and everybody gets into the gossiping, and it goes again like a snowball that grows bigger and bigger and bigger as it goes. And finally, we can create drama with our friends. It's not as common as with the spouse or significant other, but it can be, especially if you are someone that needs to create drama. You will be always having issues with your friends. This person did this to me, or this other person didn't call me, or this person invited everybody but didn't invite me. There will always be something that you're going to be addressing in order to victimize yourself and have that thing going on with your friends. So those are the 4 common scenarios of drama: families and relationships, at work, and with our friends. Now let's talk about disorganization. And you might be asking, Xiomara, why is disorganization a sign of chaos? Well, let me tell you this. Being messy, lacking order, organization, nothing on its place, nothing where it belongs. When you act in your life based on those, your life is messy, and usually you have that mess outside because it's a concrete reflection of what's inside. And the fact that you don't organize yourself, that you don't plan, you're going to be having situations that will create confusion, and you'll be stressed, and then all your emotions are all over the place. Why? Because disorganization is a reflection of your emotional disorganization and the lack of governing in our lives and lack of coordination and planning. And think about it. When we think about successful people, sometimes what comes to our mind is the fact that they are wealthy, that they have money, that they're famous. But also, successful people, part of what they do is that they manage their lives in an effective way. And it all comes down to planning, to being organized, to having an agenda, to having a schedule. Because part of what you do is that you are so powerless over your own life that you miss special activities, you continue missing important things that you needed to take care of, simply because you didn't plan for it, because you didn't get organized. So we just keep the spotlight on others, and we're whine and complain about all the things that we got to do, and we end up doing not as much as we could because we simply don't plan for it. We don't get organized, and we just get overwhelmed by the sense of having so much to take care of. So I have some signs of our disorganization. I'm going to include myself, and this is something that I have to share with you, because sometimes we look at people that are very organized, and this is me, okay? I remember looking at someone that I admire a lot because she was very organized, and I kept thinking, oh, I'll never be able to be that organized because I had such a mess in my life. But as I started my emotional growth process, I wanted to make changes, and I wanted to have a better life. And I understood that being so disorganized was making me feel upset. I was miserable. I never felt that I was on top of what I needed to be on top of. I never felt that I was empowered and had power over my own life. So by looking at this person and admiring this person, I kept excusing myself, giving all the reasons why I could not be like that person. And as a matter of fact, we can make changes, we can make adjustments. And I started talking to this person and asking her how she was so organized, and she explained to me that she decided one day that she was going to be organized, that she was very disorganized. And I remember thinking, if she can do it, I can do it too. And I started putting things in boxes. I started labeling them. I started sorting through papers and putting them into categories and putting all the bills together and putting all the letters together, and and it just started with simple things. And it's just amazing because nowadays people look at me and they see me and they are always talking about how organized I am and how I have my agenda, and how I'm always planning, and I love to do my to-do list. I just love it because the part I love the most is being able to highlight the things that I have already done. It gives me a sense of accomplishment so big that I continuously do my to-do list, and I have it all the time. It helps me get organized, and it helps me put it in priorities and deciding what I'm going to do first and what needs to be done next. And as I go over the list, I monitor on daily basis, and I can see, oh, I haven't done as much as I wanted to, or I still need to do these other things. So some signs of disorganization are the following: extreme lack of punctuality, being constantly late. I can also relate to that, and I also have to share. I cannot, it is important for me to share some of the things, some of the ways that I learned, because they were painful at the moment, but I think they can help you. I remember being always late, okay? And you might say, well, you're Hispanic. Usually Hispanics are late. We have that cultural aspects that we usually take our times and all that. But I remember just being late, although I had always worked in a system that I was always on time for work. But whenever it came to going to a meeting or to my support group or anything, I will excuse myself, because at that point I was teaching at the university, and I had this reason to believe that it was better to show up late than not to show up at all. So I remember talking to one of the members of my support group. I've always told you that I have my own support group, my own, support net, as I call them. And I remember sharing, excusing myself that I was late, but how important it was that I was showing up even if it was late. And I remember this person looking straight at me, looked me in the eye and said, "Xiomara, it's only a sign of complete lack of governance of your own life, complete lack of planning on your end." And it was like he slapped me, it was like such a realization at that moment, because it was true. I was so used to being late that I was okay with it. So that was to me a turning point in my life, and from that moment I decided not to be late. And I can tell you that sometimes when I have to go somewhere, I always ask at what time I need to be there. If I'm going out with my husband, I ask at what time are we leaving, because that gives me the time to plan how much time I need to be ready, and then I can decide the time that I'm gonna take in order to be ready for that specific time. But that's pretty much how it came to me, as a realization that I was being okay with being late, and it was such a sign of my disorganized life. It was a sign of chaos in my life. So I hope my experience can help you to understand a little bit how sometimes we just find it, it's not such a bad thing. It seems like trivial, it seems like okay, but as a matter of fact, it's a sign of our lack of planning and lack of organizing ourselves in order to be what we need to do, what we need to be in order to do what we need to do on time. So the second sign of disorganization is lots of things to be done and only a few done. So if you are someone that have a lot to do and you find yourself doing just a little bit, that is just a sign of your lack of planning and lack of organization. The number 3 is breach of commitments. You don't make it, or if you go late, or maybe you forget because you don't have an agenda, because you just didn't put it on your calendar, because you didn't set a reminder that you needed to be at that specific place, that specific day. So breach of commitment, it's one of those things in which you're going to find yourself saying that you'll do something and then you end up not doing it, not because you didn't want to, but simply because it slipped your mind. So number 4, messy cars, messy vehicles, messy rooms, and messy working areas. And sometimes, I tell you, our car looks like the office and the office looks like a mess, and sometimes we take off our clothes and we put it on a chair in the bedroom, and before we know it, we have a pile of clothes. And I also can relate to all this particular one. It's something that I struggle with, and I've been trying really hard to, when I wear something, when I take it off, either to put it in the laundry basket or to hang it if I'm gonna wear it again, because I just pile it and it's like a little nest, and you go putting things one on top of the other, and it's just amazing. But think about it. Think about that. It only shows how you couldn't take that little bit of time to actually fold it or put it away or hang it or put it in the laundry basket. So these are simple signs that as we do them and as we practice them, these behaviors, it's just amazing how we feel we're growing. It's just a huge impact in our lives. So I invite you to start trying to make those adjustments for yourself. And finally, the final sign of disorganization is constantly feeling overwhelmed about everything. It's like whining and complaining, and we're always tired because, again, there's so much. We have it right here, and we reflect it out there. So let's talk about the need to control others. It's just one of the main causes of chaos, because we are trying to control other people or trying to control the result of something, and we often end up totally worn out, totally frustrated, totally resentful about everything and with everyone. And then we start that vicious cycle of blaming others because we want them to do what we want them to do. And we don't want to accept that we have no power over someone else. We only have power over ourselves. We can only change ourselves, our attitudes, our behaviors, our mentality, the way we perceive things, the way we act, our choices, our decisions, but we cannot control someone else. And when we try to do that, as a matter of fact, what we end up doing is pushing them away, because guess what? No one likes to be told what to do. So everybody has the right to make their own choices and to make their own decisions and to make mistakes and learn in the best possible ways that they can. And when we're trying to interfere, in a way, we're making them feel that they are not good enough to do this thing on their own. And then we start having all these issues and all this conflict with these other people. And the same thing with situations. We're trying to change results that we cannot control. So whenever we feel the threat, we start trying to manipulate the context and the situation, and then what? When nothing happens the way we want it, then we're frustrated. But when it happens the way we want it, then we have this sense of being above everybody else, this sense of superiorness. And again, it only pushes people away. Even the people that loves us, even the people that we care about, we just end up pushing them away. Now, let's clear something. What's really behind our need to control? Because sometimes we want to control based on our fear. We don't want something to end up being like this, or we think if we don't control it, if we don't change it, if we don't do something about it, it's not going to be right. So based on our fear, we try to control. Sometimes it's a need we have to feel that we have achieved something. By controlling, we feel we're achieving, we're accomplishing more. Sometimes it's our need of affiliation, trying to feel that we belong, telling others what to do, so they need us because we tell them what to do. And sometimes it's our need of dominance. It's a way to impose ourselves and to make it our way, simply because that's what will make us feel good about ourselves. So I have a couple of questions that I want to share with you. I want to leave them for you to think about, and these are questions to identify if you are in need to control situations or people. Are you aware of your need to control? Are you often anticipating what may happen? Do you used to tell others what to do? Do you often get upset or annoyed or bothered when you have to do what others proposed, what others say or suggest that it's done? Does it bother you? Does it get you upset? Do you often get upset or annoyed or bothered when others don't do what you say? Think about those questions. And again, remember, you could always go back to the presentation and take notes if you need to. Now, the final manifestation, the final expression of chaos in our life is reactivity, and it's based on non-thinking reaction, pure impulse. When we don't think about the results, when we simply react to someone or to something and we don't think on the consequences, we don't stop and think. That's what reactivity is, and we end up acting based on that. And therefore, when we do, since we are probably acting inappropriately or expressing ourselves in a very inappropriate way, we start creating chaos, and then we end up whining and victimizing ourselves, and look what has happened to me again, all over again. Reactive people are always looking for someone to blame, and they don't recognize their own mistakes. It's always, always, always someone else's fault. Always. And when the cycle starts again, we get resentful with life and other people because we become negative and we start justifying why we were reacting the way we did. For instance, let's say that someone says something to me and I yell at the person, I yell back at the person, and then the person says, you don't need to talk to me like that. And then since I overreacted, I just go, I know, but it was that what you asked me, this and this and that, so I'm justifying what I'm doing. And that's how reactive people tend to go along their way. You know, they're always justifying why they're acting the way they're acting. So some characteristics, some signs of reactive people, and this is something that you can look at just in case that you might be reacting instead of actually thinking things through. Time goes by while they're dreaming instead of doing. They postpone their commitments, their decisions. They're always putting them off. They're putting them and setting them up for later. They leave everything to be done at the last minute. They get tired very fast. They rarely finish what they start because they always have so much to do. They're not realistic on what they think, so they have these amazing good dreams and ideas, but they don't put the foundation to make them a reality, and they easily get discouraged. So if you find yourself being like this at some points in your life, it might be that you are a reactive person and you need to make some adjustments. Now, let's wrap it all up. What are the main excuses we can find behind chaos in our lives? Listen to this. I have 3 specific excuses. The first one is, if it wasn't for, then I'll be able to do this. Then I'll be able to buy that. If it wasn't for the boss, if it wasn't for the children, if it wasn't for the husband, if it wasn't for the wife, if it wasn't for the crisis, if it wasn't for lack of money, if it wasn't because I didn't get paid. So all these excuses goes after if it wasn't for. And it's just not accepting responsibilities and finding who or what to blame on justify our laziness and comfort. We play the victim and we go, poor me, you know, I could have done this if it wasn't for, and we always blame it on something or someone else. Now, overwhelmed, that's the second excuse. We work and work and do and do and do and do and do, and there's so much to do and more doing that we're overwhelmed. And then since we get to do so much, we get to do nothing at all because there's so much to do that we never get it done. But then we go blaming on others because they never help us, and we always have all these different things that we need to do, and yet they never get done. So we go like, if I want to be helpful, I want to be useful, I want to do this, I want to help others, I want to give more. But again, it's all an excuse because we end up not doing it, and we blame on others for not helping us or doing it for us. The final excuse is, yes, but, oh yes, but. That's the third excuse. They are full of resentment for everyone and everything, and they don't dare to say what they say or what they feel. They always invalidate it. This is the excuse that invalidates what others says, and we fear for the opinions of others. So whenever they say something, let's say that they say, well, but you can make adjustments. Oh yes, I can. But the problem is, there's always a problem. So that's another excuse behind chaos, because at the end, it's just a matter of victimizing ourselves. Signs of chaos in our life. How do you know if you are suffering from chaos in your life, if you're having a chaotic life? When you only recognize your emotions when they overwhelm you, you might be living in chaos. When one of your favorite phrases is, it's always the same thing always happens to me, they always do the same thing to me. When in general, it's hard for you to identify what's really bothering you, what's really making you upset, what's really happening with you. So there's so much emotional turmoil inside that you cannot even verbalize and actually identify what is it that is bothering you. Because one thing keeps adding to another one, and then you just get overwhelmed. When you accuse others of wanting to hurt you or harm you, or do you wrong in any way. When you overreact, creating more confusion, more misunderstanding, and your emotions overwhelm you, and again you're more upset and angrier and more frustrated. And finally, when your actions are based on chaos, and then you feel even worse afterwards because you don't even know why you feel the way you do, and at the same time you don't even know where to start in order to stop feeling that way. My dear friends, as every session, I have recommendations for minimizing and eliminating chaos from your life. I use both words because for some people, their main goal is going to be to minimize chaos in their lives. But for other people that are already struggle trying to minimize it, it might be that your goal is to get rid of chaos once and for all because you decide that you don't want to continue living like this. So my first recommendation for you is to take time to calm down and analyze the situation you're in, the situation that is affecting you. Do not act based on your impulse. Take all the time you need to think things through. The second recommendation is to move away from people you're upset or angry with. If you're feeling that your frustration is reaching to its higher level, just walk away, take your time until that frustration lowers and diminishes, so that way you can avoid unnecessary conflicts. It's about you, so you deal with yourself and then you come back and deal with the person. My third recommendation, work out. Do some physical activity. I don't mind what you decide to do, but you need to work out. You need to move that body because that's going to help you a lot. Another recommendation, before you say a word, whatever, something, think twice. Not once, twice, or as many times as you need to think. When being under pressure, we might say something that we might regret later after we say it. So just don't say it. Don't say anything at all. Instead of focusing on the problem, consider the solutions you can come up with. Make the decision, make up your mind not to talk about the problem, but to talk about solutions. Use your sense of humor. Laugh. You know how I always recommend that you laugh. I laugh a lot. I laugh out loud. But humor can release a lot of tension. So use your sense of humor. Try to avoid sarcasm because that might hurt people, might hurt some sensitivities out there. But just laugh and try to enjoy and have this fun attitude about life itself. Practice relaxation and meditation techniques. That's another good recommendation. And my final recommendation for you is to design an agenda or a schedule where you can include all the activities, all the projects, all the things that you need to do, and just follow it through. That's going to help you feel empowered and feel that you don't have such a huge chaos in your life. Finally, and this is very important, I have 4 relevant, extreme important boundaries for you to keep every single day in your life that are going to help you minimize or eliminate chaos. These boundaries are self-boundaries, things that we do with ourselves. And the first one is, do not express yourself until you are fully calmed down. You need to make up your mind. Put it in there. I am not going to say what I feel. I'm not going to say what I think until I am fully calmed down. That will help you relax and avoid that you express yourself inappropriately. Number 2, do not tell others what to do. Stop it. Enough is enough. Stop telling them what to do. Let them do what they think is best for them. And whenever you feel inclined to go tell them what to do, stop and move away. Walk away from it. Let them be. The third boundary, when feeling something about a person, do not talk to a third person. Don't go talk to someone else about what this other person did or how I feel about this person. No. You calm down, and when you're ready, go talk to the person involved in the situation with you. Don't go and involve a third person. That's not going to help at all. And finally, do not complain. Make the decision to stop complaining about everything. Complaining is not going to take you anywhere. It's just going to make you a whiner. So you want to be able to accomplish, you want to be able to conquer yourself, and you want to be able to live a very high quality life. You need to get rid of chaos. Enough is enough. And I know if you've been suffering like I did, I think this is your time and you're ready, and these will be great recommendations that if you practice them and if you follow these boundaries, you'll be able to talk back to me in a couple of months and say, Xiomara, my life has changed amazingly. My dear friends, this has been everything for tonight. I'm gonna have to let the session end, and I want to invite you to come next week. We're gonna be having freedom from expectations. It's gonna be a terrific subject, and I hope you are joining me again. Have a great evening, and I'll see you then.